it's been a fantastic year for cinema. One of the best we've seen in a few decades, I want to say. Sadly, we have to talk about the worst movies of 2025. When I watch more movies, you realize there's a lot more sack in the world than you brutally thought there would be. Number 10 is Night Always Comes. This was a Netflix movie that dropped kind of quietly. I was looking for a movie to watch on a random night, and I was like, ooh, this movie looks interesting. Vanessa Kirby's in it. She was good in Fantastic Four. So I was like, okay, cool, whatever. This movie sucks. I understand what they were trying to go by. They were trying to be like the American experience. The American dream is dead, and it requires hustling, it requires desperation, it requires all these things in the world. And I get what they're trying to go for. I really understand the story, and I actually sympathize a lot with it. But this movie just makes me feel horrible in a way where it's not well done. Like, I'm watching it, I understand what you're saying, but also your storytelling sucks. I don't feel for your characters. We stop too often when I felt like they were trying to go for uncut gems, but they were failing to figure out why uncut gems worked. And I don't feel stressed throughout this movie. I did not enjoy many of the performances. Actually, I didn't enjoy any of them. Vanessa Kirby delivers a very subpar performance in this movie where I just did not enjoy any of it. It's a movie that wants you to feel bad and be like, oh, it's a movie that makes you feel horrible, and that's why it's so good. And I just don't care. I genuinely do not care because they don't make me care about these characters. There's no redeeming factors. There's no slumming it out with them. It's just constant torment of these characters that makes me feel horrible, but more like I got poisoned, and not because I feel sympathetic. It's a horrible feeling to have when the movie wants to make me to go take a shit more than watch the movie, because it's just that bad. It's a lot of disdain I had for this movie because it was trying to do what the good movies do and failing so badly at it that I could not find enjoyment out of what they were giving me. I had so much apathy towards it because of the factors of it trying to make me feel sympathy for our characters, and I absolutely this one left a bad taste in my mouth. Number 9 is a Netflix film, and Netflix has already been on this list once, and it doesn't get much better. Netflix has this feeling to it. I guess you could say Netflix makes Netflix movies, and I feel like a lot of people won't understand what I mean by that. They're very underdeveloped, to say the least. And Fear Street Prom Queen does exactly that. It is a Netflix movie through and through. And the Fear Street movies were pretty good when they were released back in 2022, 2023, 1. I don't fucking remember. They were pretty good. I enjoyed them for the most part. This movie doesn't have the heart of those movies. The characters suck. The dialogue sucks. It's just a horrible horror movie. I'm not scared of our villain, and the villain's motivation sucks. This feels like a movie made for a 14-year-old girl, and I don't even think I would show this to a 14-year-old girl because of how bad it is. It's not fun. It's not, horrifying. All around, it's just a kind of it's a Netflix movie. It really develops on that subpar thing. I always when people are like, this Netflix movie, and I think, okay, cool, it's a subpar movie that will be cool for me to scroll my phone for. And the thing is about movies, I don't scroll my phone for them. So I'm watching this movie and it's full, and I fucking hate every second of it. I don't like our main characters. I don't like our side characters. I don't like anyone in this movie, and I don't like the movie because it's just so badly done. It is very underdeveloped. It is not built very well. It doesn't, do anything special. It doesn't try anything. It's here to make money off the IP or keep the rights. I feel like I'm in 2009 when it comes to Fox keeping the X-Men film. That's all it feels like. That's what I'm feeling like, and it's not doing it well. And I hate every second of this movie because it does a Netflix. Netflix has such a weird year where I'm like, maybe they can shake off the whole Netflix smell to their movies. And I thought they did that with K-Pop Demon Hunters. Find out they just bought that movie, and they made this one, and it's just bad. I do not enjoy what they made here. The pie is gross. Number 8 is Black Phone 2. When the original released, I actually praised it a lot. I think it's in my top 10 of that video. Black Phone 2 takes all the good graces of that film. The Black Phone is actually horrifying to me. I own it. It's fantastic. I love that movie. Black Phone 2 decides to abandon it all. The dialogue is horrible. There are some lines in that movie where I genuinely do not know what the writer was thinking, how it got past the first draft. The storytelling is not good. It takes constant breaks to give you dialogue and exposition breaks. And when you have a scare that actually works, it doesn't, capitalize on it. The grabber is no longer scary because he's a ripoff of Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees, to a point where I have to point and laugh. The side characters really do suck. This movie feels like it's in the last video I talked about Wake of Dead Man and its critiques and its commentary on religion. This movie feels like it does everything that movie does in the worst way possible. It talks about religion in the worst way possible, and I feel like no one's heart is in this movie. And it feels like this is an after school special about, chastity and keeping your virginity, and it feels like it's calling me a slut all the time because I don't align myself with its morals that it's trying to portray, and I don't enjoy it. It's badly done. It's badly shot. It has that ugly fucking blue and orange that every fucking Netflix movie does. It has it all over it. Stop doing that. I hate, one of the things I have a problem with in modern cinematography is that, use other colors. And this movie would have been really good with a black and light blue, ice blue, color scheme. And they fuck it up with the horrible fucking color grading. It just looks horrible, and the story doesn't make much sense. And it's such an abandonment of what a grounded story the Black Phone was, and at the same time, it doesn't carve out a new path for itself, and it does it in a way where the dialogue sucks, and the characters suck. They don't matter, and it ruins the first movie by canonizing things in that movie after the fact. It was retracting its original statements that made that movie so impactful. And it made that movie work. It ruins the first movie by doing so. This movie needs to be abandoned by history, and we only need to remember that Black Phone was a solo movie by itself, and there was no sequels, and no one tried to do anything else with it, because this movie's just horrible. My number 7 is an A24 film. I love A24. I absolutely adore them. They made my favorite movie of all time, The Witch. But Bring Her Back is an absolute atrocity. I haven't watched Talk to Me, so I won't say this is I can't say anything on that end of things where I've heard people be like, "This just Talk to Me again." Bring Her Back is a movie that doesn't have a plot, and its plot that it does have is rubbish. It sucks. I don't enjoy it. It makes me uncomfortable most of the time, and I understand that's what it's going for. But when a movie overly does one thing where it makes me uncomfortable for the most part, whether through gore or through the story or through whatever it's overdoing something, it worsens itself out. If you did one of these aspects really well, I'd be like, cool, it's a great aspect, elaborate on it through the other aspects of the movie. But it overly does the uncomfortableness where the story starts to lack from it, and the movie drags. I think it's an hour and a half movie. I felt I was there for 3 hours. It drags horribly. So the pacing's bad. The dialogue is whatever. Really, the story lacks heavily. It feels like more of a gore fest. I know a lot of people love this movie for its storytelling when it comes to motherhood. And I can see where they're coming from, but I don't feel it. I feel like that this is kind of using that to gain a leg up on people to be like, this is better than it actually is, instead of actually using that as a vehicle to tell a better story. Instead, it's a vehicle to use your feelings to make it seem better than it actually is. I just generally do not enjoy this movie whatsoever. Like, every time I think about it, I just lower my score. And every time I see pictures of the movie and people are like, we forgot about this too soon. I'm like, not soon enough, because it's just a lackluster film overall. I don't enjoy any aspect the film had to offer, because it was offering me crumbs, it felt like. And I'm really hoping when it comes to like talk to me, when I actually do eventually watch it, it's much better than this film, because this film absolutely does not deliver on what it wants to be. And it makes me upset, really, actually, because I can see where it wanted to go, but it just couldn't nail any aspect of this movie of what it wanted to do. At the same time, I feel like it was doing too much. We're doing demon stuff, we're doing sex trafficking things, we're doing motherhood things, we're doing a lot of things here, never to its fullest capacity, and we're abandoning things halfway through. And I don't enjoy that, and I think it's wrecking itself by trying too many things at the same time, as well as trying to feel uncomfortable through the gore and the subject matter that it's trying to cover. And I generally do not feel like it is doing anything to its best ability, and it makes me upset at the same that it couldn't do it. Number 6 coming from a director that actually made my top 10 last year, actually pretty high. I think he made my 3 last year. That being The Monkey by Osgood Perkins. Long Legs was fantastic last year. I really enjoyed that movie. And coming off of that, right into The Monkey, I was like, ooh, okay, so we're set up for something good here. He's going right into it. He's got the momentum, right? What the fuck did I watch? Honestly, what the fuck did I watch? Because this is an acid trip, and not a good way. Like, The Monkey as a storytelling device, as a MacGuffin, is really good. It's really interesting. But they don't do anything with it like that's interesting. They spend a lot of time setting things up, and to a point where, like, I don't like our characters. I feel like our characters are losers. Theo James wears one of the worst wigs I've ever seen. I know that's probably on purpose, but I feel like this is a dark comedy that was trying to be a horror movie at the same time, and it didn't. It stifled itself by doing both at the same time. And I've watched a lot of good dark comedy horrors, and this is not one of them. I generally do not enjoy the absurdist of this movie. I feel like it dragged itself along when it came to its ideas, and its gore is solid, sure, but also I feel like I'm waking up from a dream at this current point in time. Be like, what the fuck did I just wake up from? It's one of those type of dreams. And movies should not feel like a dream at all. They should have a coherent and complete story that makes sense. And this has none of that. We jump around from time to time. The Monkey is again, they're never showing the best way to use it. People praise this movie a lot, and I just genuinely cannot see the vision when it comes to it, because it's just not good. I didn't enjoy what it was doing, and what it was trying to do, at least, because I don't think it did its aspects well enough to be an actual attempt. It was just I don't know. It feels, like I said, it feels like a dream, and that's the best way I can put it. And not a good dream, or a dream I'll forget in 2 seconds. I'm trying to remember what happens in this movie, and it's hard to do, not because I've seen so many movies, but because I don't remember it, because it's so fucking absurd and so fucking dumb. I think it spent an hour telling the backstory of the monkey, and it spends the next 40 minutes actually doing the actual story of the movie, and it's what are we doing here? And there's this aspect where it's oh, you killed Tatiana Maslany, your mom. Cool. Use that. Expand on it. That should be your whole thesis, and your whole motivation of this movie. Your whole thing should be starting on that moment. But it's not. It's a horror comedy. What are we doing here? This should be a straight up dark Pandora's box of a movie, and they don't end up capitalizing on what the monkey has to offer as a storytelling device. And I hate that, because they never they set it up so well, the concept of the monkey, and they can't capitalize on what it really is and what it could be, and as a storytelling device, as a MacGuffin, or as a thesis on Pandora's box, the chaos of the world, as luck goes. It doesn't do anything with it. It just kind of goes absurd and says, "We're done." It probably should be no surprise to anyone. I feel like a lot of people kind of saw this coming. That being Snow White. I enjoy one aspect of this movie, that being Rachel Zegler as the titular character of Snow White. I think she does a wonderful job of what she's given. The rest of the movie kind of falls apart under the weight of itself. Not even the weight. There's no weight here. It's kind of not carried by anything. The worst thing about this movie is Gal Gadot's performance as the evil witch or evil queen, whatever her fucking name is. She's horrible in this movie. I don't think I've watched a worse performance in a while. I don't know how this got the green light in the editing room after her performances. The dwarf thing is weird. I don't know why they didn't use people who, are of that stature rather than, CGI them. I feel like that's worse in a way. I think Peter Dinklage had something to do with it. I have no idea. Live action remakes are a bad thing in my mind in the first place. I feel like they're illusion of the original and what made them so great. But this movie does it where it's diluting itself so much where it doesn't do anything new with it, and the performances cannot save this movie. The cinematography is ugly. The CG is gross. Like, this movie generally is not fun to look at, but at the same time it's not fun to listen to either. I kind of just want to close my ears and then shut my eyes because what this movie's trying to do. And I like Rachel Zegler. I think she's a wonderful actress. I think she's a wonderful person from what I've seen online. But this is a horrible film because it doesn't do anything that it's supposed to do. It's diluting itself with creativity. It doesn't expand on anything that the original Snow White had. It looks gross. None of the characters feel like an actual organic person. This movie does not know how to do itself justice. And this is one of the only times where I walked out of a theater and I've been like, oh, okay. And again, this movie is very bad. I did not like this movie at all. I think I gave it a star. And that was just for Rachel Zegler. And I think this movie being at 5 is more of an encapsulation of what's below it being so bad versus it being this good, because it's not good at all. It's one of the worst films I've ever watched. It simply does not know what to do with itself, and I can't find enjoyment out of it one bit, and it's just ugly and gross. Number 4 is I Know What You Did Last Summer. Prequels are an interesting thing to look at because I think a lot of times they just retread the original story. Scream did that, Halloween did that somewhat, and I don't find them very enjoyable for the most part. I feel like if you're gonna bring back a classical horror story, maybe expand upon it, maybe bring it into a new direction rather than just repeating the original story. This movie tries to do that, but it does it in such an obvious way where I can tell you the killer off rip, and then they start leaning towards a twist, and I called the twist, even though it's stupid. The actors in this movie don't do a very good job. I love Jennifer Love Hewitt. I love Freddie Prinze Jr., but they can't say this. I don't think they're trying that hard in reality. But this movie just doesn't do anything creative with the fisherman. It doesn't do anything different. Because I could applaud for something being bad, but also trying something different from the IP. It doesn't tell a good and enthralling twist. It's not a very good whodunit. There's one good scene in this whole movie. If you've seen the movie, I think you know what it is. Madeline Klein as the main girl. Her and Chase Sui Wonders, I think that's how you say her name. You'll probably fight that up. Aren't very good in this movie. I find them very boring. I find them very bland. Madeline Klein, I know, is very popular. I don't know why she's popular. I don't know where she came from, but I know that she is popular. But she is such a bad daddy's girl, or pompous queen bee of the group, I guess you can call her. Which is funny because if I take one look at her, that's exactly who I think she is, and she can't do that well where she's underacting. She's not like if she's overacting, and this being like one of her first big performances, I kind of get it. I understand we're like overacting, but she underacts, where it doesn't feel like she's even trying to do the character, that she's reading the script and that's all she's doing. I can applaud overacting, but I criticize underacting because it's bad, and no one's really trying in this movie. I don't know what the point of this movie was supposed to be. Like, I kind of understand like the Scream thing, so it's like, okay, we're do a few things here, we're gonna introduce new characters, we're gonna start the new direction. Cool. Halloween was trying to bring into a new generation. I understand. This movie has none of those like identities or even like attempts to make an identity out of itself. It doesn't do anything interesting with the IP, and it's such a boring film that is so predictable. Number 3 is Strangers Chapter 2. I actually watched the original Chapter 1, the one with Madeline Pettit that came out last year, actually, in preparation for this. I didn't watch it when it first came out. I like the Strangers IP. I actually really enjoyed the first one. It's one of the scary movies I've ever watched, and Prey Night's a lot of fun. Chapter 2, I think, forgets what movie it is. The strangers are, as an identity, are these people who are put on masks and they come to kill you because they're bored and because you were home and you were convenient. That's the appeal to them. There's no identity. There's no thesis besides chaos. It is very good post 9/11 horror. It's a fantastic dissection on that, and I think it's awesome. In Chapter 1, kind of it remakes the first one. But, you know, it changes enough where I can be like, okay, it's done enough to like be like an actual like identity unto itself. Chapter 2 abandons what The Strangers is. Basically the thesis of Chapter 2, rather than an expansion of the first one and like kind of like a constant cat and mouse chase that it was portrayed to be in the trailer, so which got me interested in what this could be. Decides to give an identity to the strangers, and not in a whodunit way, more like, hey, this is the guy. And then tell their backstory. Tell them why you do those things. That's not The Strangers. You have completely abandoned what The Strangers is and what it's supposed to be. Like, the original, it sets up that identity. Perfect. Prey Night capitalizes on that and it amps the stakes up and kind of makes it more of a slasher. Love that. You're building on the identity that the original set up. Chapter 1 was like, okay, well, let's restart. Why? Why are we trying to tell the strange backstory? Why are we trying to make them sympathetic? That's what they're trying to do. These people are supposed to be serial killers. They kill for fun, and that's their appeal. This doesn't do it. This tries to give them a backstory. Madeline Pettit tries to do the heavy lifting with her acting. She needs a new fucking agent because I don't know how she got wrapped into this. And honestly, and apparently it's had a lot of rewrites and a lot of reshoots, and I simply do not know what the direction was and what the decision was to try to rip away what makes The Strangers interesting away. Because that's what it does. It rips away the identity of what The Strangers is and its execution of the idea. Because that idea could be interesting, whether or not it's an abandonment of the identity of the IP, could be interesting. But they don't do it well enough to warrant it being explored. It's a thing you shouldn't have explored in the first place, and if you were going to, you had to do it really, really well. It simply, it doesn't do that. It's an absolute horror film that forgets what it is. Number 2, I know a lot of people enjoy this movie, and I understand where they're coming from. I really do, and I understand where they're coming from, but the Minecraft movie is absolutely fucking horrible. The acting is horrible from every aspect of the film. I don't think there's any good acting performance here, and I like most of the actors. I think, but like they're horrible. I think there's no good acting performance in this movie, and the movie is not very nice to look at. You're putting these live action people basically in front of a green screen and saying go, and the whole world around them is essentially a green screen they have to interact with. That can work in some movies where it comes to like the Avengers movies where most of it's green screen set and it's just to save money. But when you having to ask these actors to act out this performance, it's not done well because they don't know what they're looking at. And you can see that in the younger actors most definitely. You can see that when it comes to Jason Momoa it's not a fun film. I know it's supposed to be like this child film, but like I can't find enjoyment out of this. Most children movies I can find somewhat of an enjoyment out of them, but the Minecraft movies simply made me want to fucking rip my hair out. I have no hair. That's how bad it got. I could not find enjoyment out of this film, and it simply it simply was too gross to look at, and too badly acted, and the story wasn't interesting enough, and I simply could not find any enjoyment out of this. It was like, for a while, this was the worst movie of the year. Like, I was finding it hard to fathom a worst movie because of how bad this one is, and it's getting a sequel, and that's gonna be. But like, I could not find enjoyment out of this. I didn't like the characters. I didn't find it very funny. Like, at the very least, I could find Jack Black funny, or Jason Momoa funny. They're funny actors. They do funny things. They're comedic. They didn't do any good jokes of it. It's not a very interesting film. I don't know why people find this enjoyable. I cannot fathom it. Maybe I'll have to give it a rewatch at some point in time. But I honestly could not find the enjoyment here. I could not find the visuals enjoying, at least. I couldn't find that enjoying. I couldn't find the acting enjoying. I couldn't find the comedy enjoying. I couldn't find anything in this movie enjoyable. It wasn't fun. It was kind of just a drag. And I just simply could not. I could not do it. I couldn't do it. But it's not the worst movie in the world. It's not the worst movie in the world. Because Hard Eyes exists. My worst movie of the year is Hard Eyes. This actually hurts me a little bit, because I think the director is, I've been following him for a long time because he was part of College Humor, and I've been watching College Humor probably from a too young of an age. But he directed this movie, and I think I know what they were going for. I think they're going for a satirical, like, Saw type thing, where like there's a cop plot and there's a horror plot. I think that was they're going for. They're going for a satiric view of that, and using a holiday killer for its attempt for that, and it's not good. Olivia Holt is actually a pretty decent actress. I've seen her in a lot of things. Man, there's some scenes where I'm like, were you trying? Like, is this for a check? I need you to tell me if this is for a check or not. But like, some of this is just bad, and it goes on rants and rambles from time to time. Like, I feel like they're trying to be comedic in that way, where they get off track. But that works for a College Humor skit. That works for a good YouTube skit. Like, that feels like a Smosh thing. This is a movie that doesn't work here. And I like the idea of a Valentine's Day killer sounds interesting, and you probably can do a lot with that when it comes to like romance and like situationships in this nowadays. And I think that's what they tried to do, but they did it in the most boring way possible, where the actors don't feel like they're into it. It doesn't feel like this was a little shop. This was well scripted. It just feels like a horrible combination of things that maybe a guy who maybe shouldn't be in the cinema sphere because of how well he handled this. It feels like if I was the part of a head of a company, I wouldn't hand him a project with a lot of money at least, see where he can get his feet, but elsewhere. But Hard Eye simply is just like the worst aspects of horror put to screen, and we talked a lot about a lot of horror movies today, and this might be the worst of them. It does every bad sin of a horror movie. Like, this is up there with Jason Goes to Hell, with like one of the worst horror movies I've watched. It's not good, it's not fun, it's not well acted, it's not well shot. It's just a horrible combination of things that makes it perfect for a February movie, and that's what it was. And I watched this on Netflix when it came out because I was like, oh, I missed this when it first came out. I wish I didn't, because I think I would have been better off without the knowledge of this movie existing in my brain. And I made a whole video earlier this year about bad movies existing and whether it's good to exist. And honestly, I don't think this should be in this conversation of bad movies existing and being good, because this is just absolute dog shit. It's absolutely horrible. But anyways, what is your worst movie of the year? Tell me why that's the worst movie of the year in the comments below. But until then, like, subscribe, do whatever. And bye-bye.